Hope fam, welcome back to another episode. Today we got Elliott Cook. He's a pastor over at the Lighthouse Freedom Center, where we sent Pastor Terrence over, and it's in Riverview, Florida. And again, it's just an amazing place. The Holy Spirit is just moving through every person in there. They're bringing people in who have addictions, who have lots of problems and past hurts. And Elliott really highlights a lot of what went wrong in his life and how he bounced back, and now he's a pastor. Pastor Terrence did an amazing job in this trip over to the Lighthouse Freedom Center. But I have a message for someone out there who is hurting, who doesn't know what to do, who's lost, who's bouncing to and fro, whose mind is just not there. There's hope. There is hope. The whole point of getting all these testimonies is that we can relate to you, and then you can start a relationship with Jesus. I wanted to read a verse real quick. It's Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That's Jesus talking to you right now. You're weary. Your heart is heavy. You can't handle the situation anymore. Jesus is there to take the burden. So guys, I don't know if you know what a yoke is, but when you have the ox, you have the strong ox and then maybe an injured or a weak ox. And a way they would get their strength, they would take the yoke, which is the thing that holds them together, bind them together, and then walk him in a circle until he could get his strength back. The older, stronger ox carried all the weight, all the burden. So this young ox can walk strong and build up strength. That's what Jesus wants with you. So I'm praying right now, Father, in the name of God, in the name of Jesus, that someone out there is just listening and that just strikes someone, God, and that we're just planting seeds so you can increase, God. You can increase and do amazing things in these people's lives, Father God. Jesus, in your name, amen. Guys, again, this is an amazing episode, amazing story with a couple of amazing people. So I hope you guys enjoy.
That's cool.
Just for this to get
Right,
tea
man.
prepared.
Yeah.
My God.
So-
Hope.
I
Hope
told you.
for tomorrow. Hey,
If someone shut me out because I disagreed, I wouldn't be here.
But he said, I've learned the secret of being what? Of being content. Where? In one situation? In only in 2023? No, that's not what it says, right? It says in any and every.
We couldn't be farther from normal people.
God is my everything.
What's the word?
Hey, how you doing? Well, welcome back, Hope fam. Welcome back to Hope for Tomorrow. Hey, we are here with this fantastic man at this fantastic facility. So this place is called Lighthouse Freedom Center, and we're here with Elliott. I'm not going to even tell you his role right now. I want us to kind of dig in, talk, and then he's going to lead us up to what he actually do. Because if you know what he do right now, it just robs the mystery. I want you to know the Elliott, the going back. First of all, introduce yourself, Elliott.
How y'all doing out there? My name is Elliott Cook. I'm 40 years old. I've actually been at this ministry now for 9 years. Wasn't always like that though. I started off, I was born in Arkansas. I was born as a twin. I got a twin sister.
Wow.
She's 1 minute older than me.
Wow. I bet she let you know that.
She always let me know it. Yep. She sure did. Yep. She's a good sister, though. Really good sister, yeah. Me and her chose a completely different, direction in life, though.
Yeah.
No doubt. Totally two different directions,
Yeah.
Even though we was raised up by the same parents, we chose two different paths entirely. Yeah.
So you said y'all raised in the same house. So twins, 1 minute apart, raised in the same house, but come out two different ways.
Totally.
Wow, wow, that's powerful.
Hey, it's always a matter of choices, isn't that right?
Yes, yes,
true, yeah.
yes. That's what we're gonna get to.
Yep.
I think our Hope fam is listening to that and catching and making those notes. Yeah, you could come up in the same environment, but you gotta all make the same choices. So the choices land you in the place
That's
where
right.
you at. So as we go about to jump into your childhood, like, was your mom and dad married? Tell us about a little bit about your childhood.
Okay, right. So my parents, they got like a shotgun marriage, for the simple fact, that my mom got pregnant, and then they thought that was the right thing to do under their parents' eyes, to go ahead and for us to get married and make it look legit and all the correct way. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
they ended up getting married, and for the longest I can remember, I do not remember my mom and dad ever being in love. I never really seen them kiss, hug, nothing like that. So I never seen that, at least from them two. I've seen other people get involved with them that they seem to love, but not them two, as my parents. I never seen them show affection or be loving at all.
Let me speak to that for a minute. That's so, because I want to put a pin in that, and I'm gonna walk our listeners all the way up to where we are right now. When you don't see affection, how do you learn how to be affectionate?
Right.
And that's something that, like, if you'll be able to see, you're going to be able to walk that out, that, hey, I never seen that. I can relate to that. That's my story also. Like, my mom never hugged me,
Right.
kissed me, I never seen them interact like that. So it's strange. It'd be, so if when your sexual identity come into the play, you don't know what affection is.
Right.
And so when you didn't see that, was it strange to you, or you looking back saying, I never knew, I never seen that it seems strange now. But at the time, did it seem strange that they never hugged or kissed?
Well, I guess at the time, at the time, it didn't seem strange,
Yeah.
However, I do know that, just like every human being, I want to be loved.
Yes.
And I know that there's something off. Even if I can't pinpoint it, that something ain't right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, even if I wasn't aware of it, somewhere inside of me, I knew that definitely isn't the way that a parent should be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, are they still married today? How did their marriage were you with your mom and dad all the time, or how was your life as a child, basically as a child?
Right. So my mom, she was a great mom. She carried the weight of both parents, no doubt.
Wow.
She became a good mom and the best dad she could become.
Wow.
My dad was never involved in my life too much.
Wow.
He always worked, and that was probably just to supply and satisfy this whole different life that he was living,
Yes.
He had his own issues big time.
Yes.
He was addicted to drugs, alcohol really bad. He never really loved my mother, I don't believe.
Yes.
He loved other women
Yes.
instead. And he definitely had a major sex addiction problem.
Yes.
And all that got transferred to me, without a doubt. Unknowingly at the time, but very knowingly throughout the rest of my life, I could tell.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you, because you said, and I want to be clear, and I want to be clear with our listeners. What eyes are you looking from when you say he never loved you? Did you feel that? Because some of us, especially we have teenagers, were you aware that he didn't he act different, or it's something I'm not supposed to, because you saying your mom was a great mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
What was she? She was your go-to. She was your everything, right?
Right.
Could you pick that up when you were?
Well, yeah, I guess I see where you're going with that, yeah. When I was a kid, I know now what I know,
Yeah,
the role of a parent. But when I was a kid, right, I mean, I guess my ignorance almost protected this innocence about me. I really didn't know, that it wasn't that unhealthy.
Yes.
And I really didn't know how damaging all that was and how later on in my life that was going to affect me. I really didn't when I was a kid, right?
Yes.
And my mom did a good job of actually I'm a super respectful, nice, kind, considerate person. And, that's really because of the way that my mom protected me and raised me up. She did a great job. But yeah, to answer your question, I really didn't know when I was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old that, it was totally wrong how my dad was living.
Yes.
I really didn't know that. And to be honest with you, you'll hear a little bit later, and how my mom was living. I really didn't know. I mean, at the time, I was kind of blinded to it or protected from it by something. Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up, because one of the things that we want to make sure that I'm communicating is that, especially when you're young, this is why we're talking about your childhood, because it shows us that we're packing this suitcase to be an adult. So the stuff that we are collecting, we think it's, oh no, it's because our innocence protects us from the harm. But when you become an adult, you go to open that suitcase and be like, wow, what? Why did this work? Okay, I see why I do this. I see how did I get in there?
Yeah, how'd that get in there?
So that's why I wanted to make sure that we kind of cover that. So as in your childhood, do you think this affected your sister the same way it affected you?
Man, I mean, it would have had to. It absolutely would have had to. Mm-hmm. Maybe because she's a female and I'm a male, obviously that, it probably would affect a male a little bit different being a father figure.
Yes.
But that's me telling you now that I know what I know.
Yes.
But I mean, it would have had to affect her, but man, compared to me to her, she handled it a lot differently.
Yes.
Definitely. But it would have had to affect her the same way it did me. Or to a detrimental part. She'd be putting stuff in her suitcase. She'd be putting one sock here and a dirty pair of something there. Yeah, it would have had to have been packed incorrectly. Correct.
Yes.
That's good. That's a good illustration. I like that.
What was your life tell us about how you transitioned from childhood into your teens. What were some of the things that affected you as a child that really kind of start to manifest as a teen?
Okay. Yeah, a couple very important reference points I would say is when I was probably like 7. See, I didn't know this, but my father had, because of drugs and alcohol, he had developed, I mean, it might have always been there even, you know what I'm saying? But he had developed a major addiction to sex, and, sin will just take you a lot further than you ever want to go.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't stop. Its end is death. So, I mean, it definitely took him further than probably he ever wanted to go. And I can't say it for my sister. In fact, even now, as close as we are, I still don't know the whole truth about it. But for me, he would get really drunk and high, and he would touch me, and it just developed this. Now, I didn't know how wrong that was. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't.
Sure.
In fact, I almost I was okay with it. It was weird.
Yeah.
I was actually like, all right, man, it's kind of normal, I guess. At least he showed me some type of affection or whatever,
yes.
But I do remember the moments, but I don't remember them as like this super traumatic. I don't remember him as like some like super traumatic thing.
Yeah.
Or like, where I hated him even at the moment.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even hate him at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually like, it was like, okay, almost. I almost like not encouraged him, but I was like, almost like, I can remember giving him a hug afterwards and stuff. Like it was like almost somehow natural or whatever,
Sure.
So that was like a big reference point. And then when I began to grow up, I began to find like a lot of his porn magazines, and what I would do then is, You know, I'd find myself, you know, making sure nobody's around, and I'd sneak off and go look at that stuff with them. And even though I didn't know much about that stuff at the time, I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. I didn't even know how to masturbate or nothing like that at that time. At least I don't remember.
Yeah.
At least that thing awoken something in me.
Yeah.
It really did. That thing awoken something in me, and it really plagued me for a lot of my years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I didn't get involved with drugs and alcohol until a few years later, I can remember those moments.
Yeah.
Those were some powerful turning moments in my life, is when I got introduced to all that stuff, really through his ignorance to the danger of having that being accessible to me in my life.
Yes, that's you brought up a valuable key, because if we go back into the book of Genesis, and we go right into the Garden of Eden, before we walked with God, we had such a relationship with God. We were so innocent until sin was introduced, and when sin was introduced, our eyes was open to wrongness. The first thing we seen was our nakedness.
That's
so
right.
what we started to do, tried to cover it up. But when our innocence is taken away, it opens the door for us to see. And this is why I want to make sure that I plug this in, that it's easy for us to pick up rocks and throw it at people. And your dad was bad. This person's bad. But as you're going to see, you were bad. Like sin is ugly in all the complexity. All the complexities.
Yep.
It's ugly. And no matter how you look at it, what angle you look at it, is ugly. No matter who does it, it's ugly. So when we look at how your dad was living out some of his bad sexual issues, it affected you, but you didn't know at the time that it's wrong. And somebody might have went through that right now, that's listening to us. Somebody probably going through that right now. But what we're saying to you is that as a young man, that we're gonna use the suitcase. That was some dirty drawers that went into
That's right.
your suitcase that you
Yeah.
carried.
Yeah.
So how did that, because of that moment, how did that kind of start to shape your life?
Right. That's very good. So yeah, what that did was that almost like normalized sin in my life.
Yeah.
And not only did it minimize the consequences of it, it actually made it become something normal.
Yes.
And something that then I was never supposed to partake in or go towards, and that became my life.
Yeah.
And let me just preface this real quick. My dad is probably the nicest person,
Yeah, for sure.
most gentle human being, that's where I get this from,
Yes.
you'll ever meet in your life.
Wow.
And so I just think that's how the devil works. He likes to see those like that and never let them maximize the potential they could possibly be, because he gets them wrapped up and bound up in those lies.
Yes.
So he really is a great person, but man, did the devil have a hold of him all the years. But anyways, it did shape me into really that whole lifestyle being something that I enjoyed, when I wasn't supposed to. I was never supposed to entertain in sexual immorality or anything. And it opened up a door, and I love what you said, that when your eyes got open, they seen their nakedness.
Yes.
And it did. It opened up. The major catalyst in my life was when the spirit of fear came into me. And I became battled and just riddled and plagued by fear. I actually began to think that it was almost my personality, that I was a shy, insecure person. I used to actually claim that, and I would tell people, I'm just this shy, introvert person.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know
Yes.
that actually that is the spirit attached behind that.
Yes,
That's
yes.
actually there to prevent you
Yes.
from something great.
Yes.
It's
yes.
actually a lie you begin to believe about yourself, and that really was. And I'm not insecure. I'm actually bold as a lion, but all these years I never was. I was convinced otherwise, and that fear did get introduced into my life.
Yes.
Yeah, but the sexual immorality definitely did shape me and take me into places that was unnatural, that I accepted and just actually promoted it to be something natural. I was okay with all that. I liked it.
How was your life as a teen, like as a teenager,
Yeah.
young teenager? How did you, was it, were you, were you developing into this outgoing guy that you are now, or were you deepening, or was it dark because of some of the issues you have came into your teenage years? Tell me how your teenage years,
Okay.
your years were.
So I actually made all the way up until 10th grade, straight A's all the way to 10th grade.
Wow, wow.
I was always a really smart guy.
Yeah.
But that it did make me an introvert. It did. Whatever grabbed a hold of me in those moments, it did make me a very shy and insecure person. I did become an insecure person all through, all the way up until I was in 10th grade.
Right.
And then once I got into 10th grade, that was my first year I got introduced to marijuana. And so when I was in the 10th grade, that's when I started smoking a little bit of weed, and I got introduced into that lifestyle. And I fell in love with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. I was the person I always wanted to be.
Yes.
I thought I always wanted to be. I became that guy. I was happy with who I was. I was okay to, I was okay with all my insecurities, my quirkiness, and how I was weird and awkward. I was okay with that because that made me, I was just a man when I was on that, So I fell in love with that. And what I had also, this would definitely speak to somebody. I got rhythm in me. I don't know where I get it from. It definitely ain't from my dad. My mom would say it was from her, but I love music.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with music, and when I started, getting high off of marijuana, it introduced me into new realms to be able to enjoy music.
Oh yeah.
And so, I wouldn't say I got addicted to drugs because of drugs. I got addicted to how the drugs made the music feel to me. So then I would always just dive deeper into that because it would make the music better to me. And so that's actually, it was like a tag team type thing, you know what I'm saying? To where that just expressed that more, and I just dove deeper into the drugs actually. It just made the music more live and real to me.
Yeah.
Little did I know though I was getting trapped. One hit at a time I was getting trapped,
Yeah. So when you started down this drug path, and it opened the doors to more sin, more opportunities for sin. How did you graduate? How did you transition into adult?
Perfect. So 10th grade, started smoking weed, and that year, I started getting C's, started messing up, Then then 11th grade was, barely made it. I can remember even having to go to whatever the summer school thing where I flunked out and stuff. So then when I get to my senior year, I had my grandfather in my life. My grandfather, my dad left my mom when I was, I think 10 years old. Mm-hmm. So then my grandfather, who lived next door, I lived in Plant City, so he lived next door. I would always go over to his house, and he was the one that kind of was my father figure in my life. I loved him so much. He was a great guy. And so he kind of raised me up and taught me, morals and stuff like that. So, but then when I became a senior, he got really sick, and he ended up passing away. I want to say my senior year, or maybe it was my 11th grade year, but right at the bridge between those 2 years. But anyways, that thing tore my heart apart, and it gave me just that greater excuse then to just party as hard as I want and just be that cool kid in school. I had a cool car in school, and just to be that cool guy. And so the drugs it was like an everyday thing, skipping school senior year. And I was about to not graduate in senior year. And so what I did was, I actually signed up for the military in my senior year. So I was like, I'm going to go in the Army. And even that gave me a more justification then to just slack off in school, because I know I'm just about to go in the military, and it gave me every rationalization and excuse to, all right, I got one more year, I'm going to party even harder. And that's what I did. I barely made it through high school. As smart as I was, straight A's, all the way to the 10th grade.
Wow.
As soon as I got involved with drugs and alcohol, I barely graduated.
Yeah.
And so then I did graduate high school in 2001, but I went directly after that, I went into the military.
Wow.
I went in the Army.
So here's something that, all the podcasts I've ever done, all the people I've ever interviewed, and especially people who have went through addiction walk through it, and you get to the point in this story, and like you just said, man, I was doing good, and then I started doing drugs, and then I went downhill. Well, why do so many people do drugs? They do drugs, but here's the simple answer, because they like it.
That's true.
They like doing it. It is fun, but the consequences is never known up front.
My God. That's right.
You just see, oh yeah, it makes me, and at the end of the day, you're not seeing, that's some more dirty drawers that's going into the suitcase.
And you got to wake up and face the music.
Yeah,
That's true.
Pretty soon, that suitcase is going to be stinking.
It sure is. And real heavy.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So you got into the military, and did you bring that lifestyle with you?
Big time.
Oh, wow.
That thing never stopped. So let me backtrack this. So in my 11th grade year, so before I went in there, I just smoked a little bit of marijuana. That's really all I was doing. But then when I got in the 11th grade year, I got kind of introduced to my dad again. So my dad, after all these years, I got reintroduced to him. And so, I mean, I kind of knew where he was, but I never, from when I was about, I don't know, I think 13 all the way to about 16, I never really was involved with him.
Yeah.
So then when I got to my junior year of high school, I ended up kind of getting involved with his life again. And he was involved in cocaine, women, prostitutes, crack, opiates.
Wow, he was out there.
He was way out there. So what I would do was I'd be skipping school, and I'd go hang out at his house with whoever I wanted to hang out with. And I knew where he kept his stuff, and I'd end up getting in all his stuff. And the very first time I ever did cocaine, smoked crack, slept with a prostitute, did methamphetamines, all of it was with my father. Because the only way I could relate to him was to be cool with him.
To be cool with him.
To be fun with him.
Yes.
I wanted a relationship with him.
Yes.
So what's the common denominator? We can just both get high. And we like each other when we're like that. And, and so that's really and so I got all involved with this many drugs before I went to the military. So I fell in love with this type. I started getting involved with ecstasy my senior year. And so that year I started, and that was the thing back in the days, ecstasy mixed with the music that I love like that was just a recipe for disaster. Wow. And so I got involved with the wrong people, and I would be doing all that stuff every weekend at the clubs my whole senior year of high school. I mean, it was by a miracle I made it through it.
Wow.
And so then I had that whole concept. I just got a taste of that crazy lifestyle for a few years, and then I go to the military. So that thing did not die at all from that.
Yeah, this gave light to it.
Oh my God. I mean, it actually made the military be something. I got to hurry up and get out of here so I can get back to that other lifestyle. That's how it became.
Wow.
But I mean, I'm a strong-willed person. So when I came in the military, I mean, I was great at it. I mean, I was good physically fit. I was really physically fit. My grandfather had instilled some pretty good discipline and structures in me. So I did a very good job at basic training. I was like, got the physical fitness patch. 3 people out of 200 and something people got it. When I was in basic training, I mean, I was like gung-ho in it for basic training. Yeah. But as soon as I got done with basic training, I got to go home on a pass.
Go.
And then, actually the first time I didn't, but then when I went to this AIT training thing, and it was 52 weeks. It was a whole year long. So then after 3 months of that, I went home on my first pass, went home with my father and got high, came back. They drug tested me. After 6 days, and I still tested positive for the cocaine and stuff I did.
Wow.
And so what they did was then they're like, all right, well, we still keep you in there. So they were going to keep me in there, but just take my job away, which the reason I went in the military was because I did score high on the test. So I was just going to, become something good, really just use it to my advantage, the military. And so, but when they took that job away, I was like, well, I got to get out of here. So I ended up continuing partying, and I failed another drug test. And after 2 years of being in there, they kicked me out of the military.
Wow.
I did get a general discharge, but I ended up getting kicked out of there. But what happened with that is that became a major failure in my life that developed this regret that I would have liked to complete it, and it actually became another thing in my life that I failed at, you know what I'm saying? And that's another thing you put in that suitcase
Yes.
that ain't supposed to be there.
Yes.
That becomes real heavy.
Yes.
And nobody helps you carry that one in the
Yes.
next part of your life, you know?
Yes. We have been talking in other podcasts. We have been talking about this sin, the weight of sin, and how difficult it is. Everybody's like, I'm just gonna do it. I don't really need Jesus. I can do it. And they think that they can handle sin. They can handle the life of sin. They can handle drugs. They can handle all this. But they always, and most the people who I have talked to, they've found themselves at the end of the rope. Because I cannot handle it.
Right.
I signed up for it. I thought I can do it. I thought it was cool. And then at the end of the day, I just can't handle this. What drove you to that point where you take us on the road to how you got where you got to the end of your road, where you had to come to Lighthouse
Right.
Freedom Center.
Okay. So I left the military when I was 21. After that, it was an everyday, never-ending attempt to just get high and just party every single day. That was my motto in life. I want to party harder today than I did yesterday.
Wow.
So from when I was 20 years old, when I got out of the Army, all the way up until I was 31, that's how I lived. And I'm talking about, first off, I had a decent car with a decent little apartment. Then I had a raggedy car with a raggedy apartment. Then I had a decent bike with not a good job. Then I had a raggedy bike with no type of place to live.
Yeah.
And then I ain't got nothing at all. Wow. So by the time when I was 31, and I've done lived and destroyed so many things in my life, been to jail 11 times, just been in and out of so many mental hospitals because of the drugs and the lifestyle I was living that made me literally start going crazy. Then when I became 31, I actually heard from one of my partners that I was just messing around with. She happened to mention this place called the Lighthouse. She's like, the Lighthouse, we should dedicate 18 months of our life to God. And I'm thinking, you're crazy. There ain't no way I'm going to do that. 18 months of my life. I said, I already been in the military. I don't need no kind of structure like that. I'm not about to do that,
Yeah.
And but it did. It planted a seed at this place called the Lighthouse, and it planted a seed. And so, sure enough, ended up. Let me just backtrack just a minute.
Okay.
So then when I got to be about 25, I really got heavy into methamphetamine. So when I got involved in methamphetamines, that's when it was a whole different world. It wasn't just fun partying because, you don't need much money to stay up for a week.
Wow.
And after you stay up for 5-6 days of that, you're way beyond becoming a different person. You are out there. And the devil, you open up some portals in the spirit realm that you're never supposed to entertain.
Yeah.
And you get involved in some crazy, crazy, crazy dangerous stuff. And so that's how it was from 25 all the way up until I came to the faith home. It was a nightmare. Wow. Even though I didn't know really how to stop, just because there is a large part of me, like you said, that absolutely loves to get high and live a reckless and what you think is free life, you know what I'm saying? I ended up just continuing to do that with the wrong people all the way up until I came here, here at the Lighthouse when I was 31. And when I came here to the Lighthouse, I got to describe my Lighthouse journey to you. Mm-hmm. When I came here to the Lighthouse, it initially came as because I found myself living in an abandoned trailer, for 11 months of my life. No electricity. I ran an extension cord from somebody, no hot water. Wow. Nobody around. And what happened was, my mom, I had damaged my relationship with her so bad that my mom, she had to put a restraining order on me because I would always come, begging for food and begging and taking advantage of her and all this stuff. So that she had to do that. That was actually her way of trying to force me into a corrective type of life. You know what I'm saying? So that was her way of defending and protecting herself even. But she put a restraining order on me, so that kind of closed that door for a season. And I ended up finding myself with that baggage nobody was there for me. Yeah. There was a point where I didn't have one human that was going to answer the phone call for me. So that got to be to where I was like, well, let me try this place called the Lighthouse. So I came here.
Hold
And-
on, hold on, hold on. Let me quantify that. So you telling me that you went from being super smart to alone in a room. So this baggage that you packed now it's gotten it's way beyond full. You can't even carry it. It's stinking. You don't even. I don't want it now. I want to. It has drove you to this place where you like. Hold on. I need to. I want to. I don't want this life no more because. From what I was listening to you, you was like, "Oh yeah, every day I wanted to party. I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
You wanted that life. You enjoyed it, but now the suitcase is too hot, too heavy, and too stinking
Yep.
to be around, and it drove you to this place called Lighthouse.
Yep.
Tell me how they received you.
So when I came to the Lighthouse, that was in 2000, the first time. I'd technically been here 3 times. So
Good.
first time I came here, I really wasn't as serious about wanting to change my life as I should have been. All I really needed was some help.
Yeah.
I didn't know what help meant. I didn't know how far help was going to, need me to cooperate with it. So when I first came here, all I was like, man, I'm just going to give this a try just because I want to live somewhere else than I was. I just want something different than where I was, being
Yes.
practically homeless out there with nobody around. So when I came here, they was totally open for it. They opened me with open arms, but I only stayed for 2 weeks. So I stayed for 2 weeks. On that second week, I realized I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I realized, man, this is about to probably change my life forever, and my flesh was not ready to die. And so I didn't know what that was like at the
Yes,
moment. I
yes.
wasn't educated in how that stuff works, but I didn't realize that my flesh was about to realize he ain't got no more life in him. So he started putting up a fight. And what happened was I left on a Saturday night the first time. There was going to be a Faith Home graduation that Sunday. So I was about to see the finished product of somebody that goes through this program. In the spirit realm, my flesh knew that. And so I was like, I'm getting out of here that Saturday. So I ended up packing my stuff up that Saturday. And I remember when I left that Saturday, the guy said, I was like, hey, can you pray with me? And he was like, yes. He circled up and prayed with me. And he was like, Lord, I pray you protect this guy on his way out and forgive him for breaking his commitment with you. And I got so offended when he said that.
He called you out.
But that's right. When you enter into a covenant relationship with God, you
Yes.
enter into a forever commitment with him.
Amen.
I didn't realize what that was like. So when I left, I was like, man, I can't believe he said that to me, but that stuck with me forever. But anyways, I left after those 2 weeks. And do you know that I left and within, I have to share this part. So I got my house clean in 2 weeks. I came here and, I accepted Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, when I came here. And I did get my house clean in 2 weeks, but I did not keep it filled when I left here. And so as soon as I left after them 2 weeks, my mom let me come back into her house after those 2 weeks.
Amen.
So she's the one that picked me up. I convinced her, I'm a good manipulator, just like a lot of us in that lifestyle are. So she convinced me to let me come at her house. So I had left the Lighthouse, went back to her house. And that night, I didn't do no drugs that night. But that night, I looked at some pornography that night. And my house was clean, but I opened that door, and I felt the devil come all back in.
Yeah.
And it was that night, and then 2 days later, I'm shooting up methamphetamine. 2 days after that, never thought I would.
Yeah.
So here's what happened after that. So 2 days after that, I ended up getting back involved with meth, and for 11 months, every single day of my life, I thought it was the last day of my life.
Wow.
Because what happened, the devil says it comes back 7 times worse.
Yeah.
And before that night, when I left to the Faith Home, I got involved with these people, and they were about to literally murder me. And it wasn't just a drug thing. They literally were. The people I was involved with, the girl I was involved with, and the people, they were literally about to murder me. So God's grace pulled me out, brought me to the Faith Home, and I escaped that. But when I left after them 2 weeks, and I got involved right back with them same people, Death was knocking at my door every single day. And I ended up staying back out there for 11 months. And it was the worst 11 months of my life. I mean, I'm talking about terrifying. Every single day, if I would wake up, half time I'd stay up for a few days, but if I would, every day I was looking behind my back. I mean, I thought every day was the last day of my life. And it developed in me such a paranoia and insanity in my mind that just like that guy that you make fun of on the street corner that's talking to himself, that was me for 11 months of my life. I got that out there. And so finally, after 11 months, I end up coming back to the program. And when I came back this time, I had all these voices in my head that were telling me crazy stuff. And I mean, I don't even know how to explain this, but they let me come back they let me come back to the program. And I stayed up that when I came back to the program, they could let me come in the dorms. And that night I ended up staying up all night in the dorms. This don't happen nowadays, but I was like an exception to it. I ended up staying in the dorms, running around, looking through the windows and just acting crazy. Next morning, stayed up all night. Next morning, I ended up in the dorm in this program. And I don't know, I had this idea that, man, they're about to kill me or something crazy. And I ended up pulling the fire alarm and creating this huge scene at this ministry that's going to save my life. Running down the street a mile this way, everybody's out there like, look at this guy. They see me running back this way. I run all the way over here. By this time, they called the cops. I'm running across the street down Highway 41, trying to jump off the bridge. Cars almost hitting me. End up getting down to Gibsonton, Florida down here. And 6 cops came, and they all tackled me, and they bring me to this mental hospital. So they ended up taking me to the mental hospital. I stayed in the mental hospital for a few days. Then after that, I ended up, now this, I don't know still what's going on in my head. I really don't understand all the ramifications of what's going on, because in my head, I'm still thinking that, you know, all these people are out to kill me. That's what I'm believing. And this is the crazy part is I don't have drugs in my system anymore, because it's been a week now with anything. So it's not like I have any chemicals actually running through my body. They're out of my body, but there's something else going on. There's some other battle. There's some other type of struggle that's preventing me from getting into this place, into this relationship with God. There's something else preventing me. And they're so real that literally I'm suicidal. I mean, I just want this stuff to end. And so as I'm in that mental hospital, I end up leaving after a few days. And as I'm leaving out of Grace Point, I end up walking down Hillsborough Avenue. And as I'm walking down Hillsborough Avenue, still the voices are just, I mean, so loud and so insane in my head. And I'm walking all the way down Hillsborough Avenue, and I just want all this stuff to end. And so as I walk to the end of Hillsborough Avenue, right there where the casino is and everything, I realize I can't walk no further. I can't go on the interstate. So I end up just cutting behind this little side road, and I take another left. And there's this little church. It's a Sunday night. There's this little church. And so I end up walking in this little church, and there's nobody even in there except this one old guy in the front of this church. And as I walk in there, here's what happened. As I walk in that place, I can almost like the voices were personified with people outside. And so as I walk in there, it's like I have this moment of peace in that church, and then people are still outside waiting for me, egging me on to come back out there and all this stuff. So as I'm walking in that church, I got some peace, and I sit down next to this old guy, and I'm like, man, I just want a glass of water. He ended up handing me a bottle of water, and he just sits there. It's not like it's some type of fire, Holy Ghost, nothing too dramatic or nothing. I just sit down next to that guy, and he just sits there, and next thing I know, they open up the church, and there's about only like 5 or 6 people that even come in this church. And I feel the Lord telling me at that moment as they start having this little church service, he said, Elliott, it's now or never. And I realized at that moment that this was the moment of my life, that if I don't really surrender something, or if I don't really, whatever God's asking me to do, if I really don't make this that moment, when I walk out of there, I will cease to exist. I will literally die, and I don't know where I'd end up at that moment. So I realized I heard him. I've only heard the voice of the Lord twice in my whole life. One time he told me to run, and that was it. And that was a moment I needed to hear it loud like that. And this is the only other time I've heard the audible voice of the Lord when he says, it's now or never. And I remember going to that altar, and it was almost like this. It was like my flesh was like, nah, I'm not ready to give up. I ain't ready to die. I'm not ready to give up. But I realized that moment, and I was like, I gotta surrender my life for real. Because the first time I came to the faith home, I didn't have all of God's grace, because he knew in my heart I wasn't all for him.
Yeah.
He knew I wasn't willing to actually let down my whole rest of my life.
Yes.
How many times have I called out in jail?
Yeah.
Hey, you get me out of this one? I've been to jail 11 times, so how many times? You get me out of this one, I'll serve you.
Yes.
He knew I wasn't for real, so he'd give me a little bit of grace to, you know.
Yes.
But this time, I was serious, and I went to that altar in that church, and I said, all right, Lord, I for real will turn my life over for the rest of my life. And instantly, I got instantaneously delivered from drug addiction. I did. I know that don't happen for everybody.
Yes, yes.
Mindsets had to be renewed and developed, but I instantly got delivered from
Yes.
drug addiction right then and there by the Holy Ghost. Right then in that church, I got instantly delivered from all those voices, all the paranoia that, listen, I was on 5 psych meds, Xanax, all these psych meds to try to eliminate that stuff. Nothing could quiet them voices. Them 11 months of my life, nothing could shut them things down. But as soon as I went in there and surrendered my life to Christ right then and there for real, and the Lord knew that I was serious, I got instantaneously delivered from all that stuff. And right then, at that church service, there was a guy in that church. He was like, well, where do you want to go? And I said, man, take me back to the Lighthouse. And they took me back at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, 7 o'clock. And I had just left 4 days earlier by pulling the fire alarm.
Yeah.
So you ain't letting some dude like that come back in.
Yeah,
This guy, will you show him back up here?
Yeah.
Somehow, when I showed up,
Yeah.
I have no idea how the Lord administered to the leaders and the pastors here at that program at the time. But somehow they let me come back into that program and let me sleep in the same bed I just previously 4 days ago pulled the fire alarm at. They let me sleep in the same bed. And that night, I'm telling you, my life was never the same, because when I came back in that program, I remember walking to the bathroom and looking out. There was a window in the bathroom of the faith home. Looking out that window, and I heard the devils keep saying, we ain't done with you. And I said, but I'm done with you. And I turned my back and went in my room, went to sleep. And my life was forever changed. I entered into the faith home. It's an 18-month program. Entered into this thing knowing, you know what, this ain't a program. This is my rest of my life.
Yeah.
So the rest of my life, every day of that program was like a new way to learn how to live a new life. The life that drugs couldn't teach me. The life without a dad couldn't teach me. The life without my grandfather couldn't teach me. A life was failing the military, failing everybody in my life. Jail could never teach me. The consequences of sin never could teach me, even unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nothing. But I came into the faith home with a fully surrendered and committed heart to the Lord. And this place changed my life. I mean, it can't even describe it in words how this place called the faith home absolutely transformed my life.
Let me, Lord Jesus, help me. Wow. Here's what I heard. I want to just take one step back. And I heard you say when you first got here, hey, put my suitcase over here because I'm coming back to get it.
Oh, yeah, the first time.
That thing was packed, stinking, heavy to carry. But hold on, just keep it over there because I'm coming back to get it. And then here's what I heard you say. I heard you say when you left the first time, you said, hey, I got to get something out of this suitcase. It's packed full. But I got to get one item out of there. But in order for you to get the one item, you had to open the suitcase.
Ooh.
And everything started busting out of that thing.
Sure did.
All of your history, that's what the voices, those demons, you release those demons back into your life. And then guess what? Now we got the suitcase. It's heavy, but you're carrying it. And then you arrive at when you went in the church, your suitcase can't go with you.
Yeah, it's right outside.
It can't. You know it's out there.
That unholy thing can't enter into that. The light won't let that darkness in there, yeah.
You accepted them into your heart. And guess what happened? Poof. That thing went up in flames.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone. Not even the traces of it. None of that. You can't go back to it. Even, I see you in the atmosphere trying to tempt me, but hey, even nothing that I went out, the voices, the addiction, all of it's gone. It went up in flame when you truly surrendered and accept him in your heart. You can't even go back.
That's right.
There's nothing to go back to
That's
because
right.
it's gone.
That's right.
God has really delivered you and released you. Now you're here at this place. Tell me about your journey here. And you walked us through a little bit about your journey, how you got here. But tell me now about what do you do here?
Okay.
What did you gain from this, that little church? Okay, yeah, I accepted Christ, and then I gave up something. But what did you gain from
Awesome.
this?
So yeah, the Faith Home, it's an 18-month program, and it is designed to have you be forced through confrontation of you got to confront yourself.
Yes,
Without drugs,
yes.
without a place to run, without relationships outside of this that you got to face yourself.
Yes,
And
yes.
so you avoid that all your life through other, drugs and alcohol and other things that you think is going to fix you. You avoid that. So the Faith Home makes you confront yourself and get real with yourself. So I just went, because I turned my life over to it, and I realized it wasn't an 18-month program. It was a lifestyle. So for me, it became easy to just go with exactly how the program's criteria, curriculum, all that was. It was
Yes.
a joy to me.
Yes.
Because I realized it's adding to my life. I mean, it's putting some stuff in my tool belt, and it's really, this is what I was built to do. So when I came to the program, it became a joy to go through this thing. And so I excelled very quickly. I was super obedient, cooperative in it. I mean, I did have my own little issues that, God had to pull things up
Sure.
out of me, you know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
renew my mind to a lot of mindsets, that I had developed throughout my life. But really, I got transformed so quickly by applying what the program is teaching me and always putting God first in this program. I just applied that, and my life got super blessed so quickly in this thing. God showed up in such a miraculous way. When I came here, my mom had a restraining order on me against me. She at this moment in my life was bound by sleeping meds. She had hepatitis C, so she was 87. At this time she was like 65 years old or something. She had hepatitis C, so she only weighed 87 pounds. So she smoked 2 ounces of marijuana a week just so that she could eat. She was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 51 years. So when she came here, my mom was on her deathbed. I literally was looking at her, looked like a skeleton. I thought she was like maybe a month left to live. So when I came here, she's seen it working for me. So after she got the restraining order lifted, 3 months into it, she started coming here to the church. She lives in Plant City. She started coming here to church. She came to church, and 5 months into my program, this thing started working so good for me, she got lit on fire here at the program. She got delivered from smoking 2 packs of cigarettes for 51 years, the marijuana. She got delivered from the sleeping meds. She got supernaturally healed of hepatitis C. It's where she looks now 20 years younger. She's the head greeter here at the ministry. She's fully active here in the church.
Wow, wow.
She has her grandkids back. She's got a purpose in life, and she's on fire for God.
Yeah.
So the place affected my whole mother. Just me dedicating my life to Christ, it trickled down to my whole family. It actually ended the curse that I was allowing to flow and operate in my life and my family's life. It cut that off at the root, so she began to get life. But the program then, after that, I just gave it all. I gave God my all. And when you give him your all, I mean, he really shows up on your behalf when he knows you're serious. He gets real serious with you. So as I got done with the program, they just seen that I was different here. They seen my dedication to it was different. My cooperation with the process was different. And they invited me on to work as an intern. And, I started doing that. I started driving the trucks faithfully for a few years here. And then just the way that I served here in the ministry, I believe it got highlighted to God and the leadership here and through Pastor Tony that, he then was like, man, there's something about that guy, I believe, that's just different.
Yeah,
I mean, he never stirs up trouble. He's very low maintenance. I never have issues because I do what the Bible says. I mean, I examine myself every day and see if I'm in faith. And I mean, I examine myself, and that's one of the keys to growth is always examining yourself. And a couple years into that, he hired me on as staff here in the ministry as his assistant. So then about 3 years into that, I became the pastor's assistant, and I just began to sit with him every day, and he began to mentor me every single day.
Wow.
And he just
Wow.
began to pour himself into me and really replicate himself in me.
Yes, yes.
And I became so close with him, and I don't know what he saw, to be honest with you. I don't know how that works, because I didn't see that in me at all, because here's how I didn't see it in me. I would never speak. I hated speaking in front of people. I would never step out, and I mean, fear,
Yeah.
going back to that,
Yeah.
was the thing the devil had me bound, because I guess he knew that my gentleness and my sincerity and vulnerability in life was going to help a lot of people break chains. And so he
Yes.
actually bound me with fear, man, to where I did not want to speak in front of nobody. I could never do this. I could never speak in front of church, you know. And he I guess the Lord revealed all through that veil to him, Pastor Tony.
Yes.
And that's my pastor and Pastor Tony. And so he revealed, I guess, the calling of me. And so he just began to allow me to begin doing announcements in church, preach, you know, here and there. And so now I'm the assistant pastor here at the ministry. 9 years later,
Hold on. You say you're the assistant pastor here?
here at the Lighthouse Freedom
The guy
Center.
that was here in...
Voices, putting fire alarms.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I get it. Hey, I get it. When we came here, you gave us a tour. And I get it now. I
Yeah.
get it. The main thing I listen well. I probably you don't think I'm paying attention, but I listen well. And I pick up little nuggets and I write them down in my book. And then I have this mental thing that I do. But when I meet people, there's one thing. What is the one thing that I heard loud from you is that's the bed.
Oh, yeah, right.
You remember
I remember
saying
Sarah
I
talking
picked
about
that up and I stored that. That's the bed. You kept saying that. You made sure. I want to show you this bed
Yeah,
because that was the bed that you left from.
that's it.
And this is the bed that God brought you back
Yeah.
and turned your whole life around in a bed that somebody else is sleeping in right now. But the power of what God can do and what he's doing in your life. We're transitioning into this closing moment. Here's what you've told us so much that give us life. But there's somebody that's listening right here and right now that can relate to you, to relate to segments of you, know that, hey, man, a lot of what he was saying, I know it was me. But here, what do you have to say to me? Like, I'm struggling. I'm fighting I'm in the party stage. I'm in the quitting stage. I'm going to get some help, but I'm really not ready to surrender stage. What advice do you give to that person that's listening right now?
Well, that there really is a heaven and there really is a hell.
Hey.
And God definitely does not want to send you to hell, and he don't. It's ultimately our choice.
Yes.
And there is a moment in your life, no matter how old you are, no matter how far down you go or high up you go, there is a moment in your life where you are going to have to face the fact that you were created to serve God.
Wow.
And that he is anxiously awaiting you with open arms for you to begin to serve him.
Wow.
And don't let money blind you. Don't let pain blind you. Don't let circumstances get in the way. Don't let abundance block you from thinking that, or lack block you from knowing that your purpose in life is to serve God. My purpose in life was to always serve God. And as soon as I got serious about that, as soon as I got serious about serving God, he got serious in delivering me and breaking whatever chains had me bound in my life.
Yes.
But he knows your heart, and he knows when you're ready. And he knows that he's not going to make himself look bad and promote you too quick. And as soon as you really get serious about God and put him first in your life, the Bible comes true. And everything else that you were searching for, seeking after, striving towards, he adds some things in your life. Just like it says in Matthew 6:33, it really becomes evidence in your life when you really, truly put him first. And I thought I might be missing out in life. Now I got my whole family back.
Yes.
I am married here. I'm married to the Faith Home supervisor here.
Wow.
I've been happily married 3.5 years.
Wow.
First time I ever got married too, and I got married the right way.
Wow.
I got paid for a car, I got a paid for house. I got 2 French bulldogs and an English bulldog. My life is so complete, and every year has been better than the last. Every year I'm on the increase.
Wow.
It's unbelievable how amazing God is when you really get serious with him. And that's it. All it took was for me to get serious with him.
Yes.
Yep.
Elliott, what an amazing, amazing story, man. The life that God has gifted you with. He given you such a jewel to be, as you said, the evidence, not a testimony, but the evidence that redemption happened, the evidence that you, no matter that what you do and how you look at it, you can now outrun sin.
Yes.
You can't handle sin. You can't. You can fake it till you make it, but at some point you said you gonna have to give in, and you've done that. You've modeled the behavior. Thank you so much, man, for your time and your effort. Hope Fam, we are so happy that you get the opportunity to experience this. And if you know someone, or if it's you that's at a place, a crossword, the Lighthouse Freedom Center is open for you. It is. Make that choice right now. Thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all soon.